Hi there. Welcome to the second video in our series on why you might want to fill in some important gaps in your understanding of what it takes to build your practice. Today's call is about a specific number that you can figure out from your appointment calendar, so you're going to need that, also pen and paper, that will help you understand where to put your effort in building your practice and trying to get more clients. So if you don't have your appointment calendar with you right now, or if you don't have pen and paper, just go get them and pause the video. I'll be right here when you come back. So the first thing that I want you to know is that you're probably not wasting your time here today if you're a hands-on practitioner and you need to get more clients, because I'm a hands-on practitioner. I have 40 years of experience and I understand what it takes to build a hands-on practice, and I also understand how hands-on practitioners think and speak and the language that they understand and how they're different, and really how things need to happen for them in order to make it work, because they're not like every other kind of coach or internet marketer on the planet. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that since 2010, I have been helping practitioners build practices that are sustainable and satisfying to them. And what I know is that if you are a person who is really committed to getting a practice where you're helping more people than you're currently helping, and you're wanting to, live your purpose, that I can help you if your commitment is bigger than your current circumstances. And what that means is that you're willing to say, there aren't any excuses here. I'm going to do what it takes. So if that's you, you are definitely in the right place today to learn something about your practice that I think is going to help you understand where to put your effort. And at the end, I'll tell you how to get more of that if it feels like a fit. If you've been watching these videos, you know that yesterday we talked about marketing and client attraction. And one of the things that we established is that most practitioners think that marketing is about helping them to get clients, but in fact, it doesn't work like that. It's really buckshot, it's broad-based, and marketing is usually a thing that doesn't result in bringing the right clients in. And it also doesn't bring clients to your door. What it does is it establishes that you're there and that there's some kind of awareness built in the public, usually about your modality and not about you. On the other hand, client attraction is about that kind of laser beam that focuses on your practice, what you have to offer, and helps to bring specific people who are the right fit for you closer to becoming clients. But in either case, what's necessary next is that your phone rings and now you've got to get a client from that interested person. And that takes enrollment skill. And so let's just define, what does enrollment skill mean? Client enrollment is about helping specific people that you're interested in working with understand what you do, how it will benefit them, and why they should make a commitment to working with you, and then moving along that path to actually making that commitment. That's an enrollment conversation. And what we're going to look at today is how yours are going, because that's the indicator that tells us where you need to put your focus. So the first thing that we're going to do is look at your calendar, and in that calendar, you're going to be looking for the last 10 sessions that you had with a new person. And you're going to write down the names of those people. Just make a list. Stop the video, make your list. When you've made it, come back. I'll be right here. Got your list? Okay. Next step, go back through your calendar to the first person on your list, the first time you saw the first person, and start working your way forward from that. And every time you saw one of those people on your list, make a little hash mark next to their name. And then when you're all done, circle the ones that came at least 10 times within 3 months. 10 times is what I define as a long-term client, because for most people it's enough to really know what it is that you're doing and then make the decision that they're going to stay with you. So less than 10 times, it's usually not a sure thing, but after 10 times, it's usually a pretty good indicator. So look for the people who've come 10 times and circle all of those people. And again, stop the video, go through and do it, and then come back. Got that? Great. Now, the next thing is count those people up. It's real simple. It's little list on your paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many it is, count it up, write down the number, then add a 0 to that, and put a % sign. That is your client commitment rate. And your client commitment rate tells you how many people come out of 10 for a long time. That means that if 5 people come out of 10 and you see 100 people, you're likely to get 50 clients. If you want 20 people in your practice, you need to see 40 people in order to get them. See, it's really simple. It's how it works. Now, here's the interesting part about it. Most people don't have numbers like that. So the problem that we're going to begin with is how many people do you want in your practice when it's full? Okay, because this client commitment rate is a good predictor of how long it's going to take you and what it will take energetically to make that happen. So I'm going to talk about getting 20 clients a week because that's a typical kind of number for most of the hands-on practitioners that I talk with. If that's not your number, don't worry. You just have to make the calculation according to whatever it is that you're looking for in your own practice. So yesterday, we talked about a hypothetical situation in which there was a massive marketing coup for your modality because somebody published an article or a book that had benefit to people who do the kind of work that you do. If you think about that kind of free advertising for your modality and you imagine that you get 20 calls over the next week, okay? You want 20 people in your practice and you get 20 calls over the next week. If you have a 100% commitment rate, what will happen is that you'll get 20 clients. If you have a 50% client commitment rate, you'll get 10 clients. If you have a 20% client commitment rate, you'll get 4 clients. If your commitment rate is 10%, you'll get 2. And if it's 0, you'll get none. Now, it might be 80%. And if it's 80%, you're going to get 16 clients. And that's going to be probably more than you can work with, because if you have a client commitment rate that's that high, you've probably got close to the number of people that you need already in your practice. So at that point, we're looking at something that is closer to attraction skills, because you want to zero in on the people who are really right for your practice so that you don't have to see 20 people in order to find the few people that you need who are the right fit. Okay, because some of this is about getting exactly the right people into your practice so that your own energy stays high and you really feel like you're on purpose. But here's the thing. If your client commitment rate is at the lower end, say it's 20%, and you get 4 clients from seeing those 20 people who call you based on the fact that there was a massive marketing gesture on the part of someone that you don't even know, those 4 clients could look to you like, wow, this is terrific. I'm really doing very, very well, because you got 4 people suddenly and your practice swelled. But the thing is, you need to remember that it took you 20 people to find those 4. And to get the next 4, you have to see another 20 people. What begins to happen here is that building your practice, as that client commitment rate goes down and your number gets smaller, building your practice becomes more and more difficult from the standpoint of simple mathematics. Now, here's the really awkward bit, because if you really did have 20 new people every week, you could tell yourself, well, I would be having enough people here to build a practice. But the problem is that 80% of the sessions that you're doing with people are the ones that are the most stressful. They're the ones where you pull out all the stops, you do everything you can imagine you can do. You're really trying to impress the client because you're actually auditioning for a job. And most practitioners tell me that those first sessions are ones that they wish they could stop giving because they don't relax in those sessions. Beyond which, if your client commitment rate is 20% and you give 20 lessons or sessions to new people, you're going to get 4 clients who say yes, but you're going to get 16 people who say No. And those 16 no's are really demoralizing. They take your self-esteem down and they make your inner voices go crazy. So the problem here is that you can't really live with a client enrollment rate that's that low and expect that you're going to build your practice in any easy way. So the only thing that makes sense is that you increase your client enrollment skills, because as your number goes up and your percentage goes higher, it takes fewer and fewer people to build the practice that you're really looking for. Now, one of the things that I said yesterday is that we would take a look at one way in which marketing and client attraction are like each other, and how client enrollment is really a completely different thing. And what that's about has again to do with math. And I know that there's a good chance that you hate math, but please just stick with me through this, because this is a completely eye-popping way to look at the problem that we've got here. And not only that, it points directly at why you need to work on building attraction and enrollment skills. So here's the thing. Marketing and client attraction are addition problems. Okay, I want to explain what I mean by that. It means that if you add up all the efforts that you're making to build your practice, you've got the sum total of what you did. So, for example, maybe you have a website and maybe you put new content on it in the form of blog posts every week or twice a month or some regular interval. Maybe you've hosted a summit, or you are a guest on a summit, or you've been interviewed on the radio. Maybe you make a practice of going out and speaking regularly to service groups or other clubs that meet in your local area on a regular basis, and you can just go and talk to their members. Maybe you put up flyers at your local co-op or the library or any place in town where there's a bulletin board and people talk about services. You see, there are lots of different things you can do. There are many more than I've listed, but you get the idea. You can do this and that and that and that and that, or maybe you don't like doing this thing, so you take it out. Okay, so instead of and, you have zero. Here's the thing. With addition, zero doesn't have any effect. The idea basically here is that the more you do, the better your results are likely to be, but if you don't do something, you can probably make up for it in another way. So zero in an addition problem is not the end of the world. But here's the kicker. Because client enrollment is not an addition problem, it's a multiplication problem. And when you've got a multiplication problem and you put a zero into it, it doesn't matter where in that problem you put the zero. The answer is zero. It's like, this is like, who thought this up? But it's true. This is the problem. And math doesn't lie, unfortunately. And this is why your client commitment rate is so important. Because here's the thing. If your client commitment rate is 100%, you can be pretty sure that if you see a new client, you're going to get a long-term commitment out of that person. You're going to get a long-term client from a new person if you've got a one-to-one correspondence between seeing a client and getting a client. But anything less than one is approaching zero. Okay? Any number times one is the same number that you started with. Any number times less than one comes out less than one. This is really a problem, because what we're looking at here is that your client commitment rate cannot be extracted from your ability to get clients. It's an integral part of what's going on in your practice. So you might do this plus that plus that plus that plus that and all kinds of stuff to attract people. But at the end of the line, you have to multiply that by your client commitment rate. And that's probably less than one, which means that you're going to get fewer people than you started with, always. So where this becomes really problematic is as you get closer and closer to zero. And at a certain point, like somewhere, I'm going to say just at 50%, it's tenuous. At 60%, it's doable but exhausting. Below 50%, it starts to become mathematically impossible to build a practice, which means that the only thing that you can do is change the equation. Okay, that's it. You've got to cheat. You've got to rewrite the equation. And how you rewrite that equation is by increasing your skill, boosting your ability to bring in a new client, when a new long-term client, when you talk to somebody that you've never met before. Now, even if your client attraction rate is 80%, what I'm going to argue is that you need to learn attraction skills, because now the thing that makes a difference to you is bringing in more people, but you don't want to bring in randomly the whole universe. The best thing for you would be to bring in people who are really exactly a good fit for you, so that what happens is that you get one client from every person that you see. And that is boosting your rate. It's bringing you between 80 and 100. It's closing that gap, that last 20%, by having better attraction skills. So I believe that you really can't afford to not have good attraction and enrollment skills, no matter what your client commitment rate is. The odds against you are terrific if you're trying to build a practice without those skills. And looking just at your desire, coming back to thinking about having 20 people in your practice, if your client commitment rate is 0, it doesn't matter how much energy you pour into attraction. You're never going to get to 20 clients if you don't know how to enroll them. And if your attraction rate, your client commitment rate is 20%, and you're attracting loads and loads of people, you are probably going to run out of energy long before you fill your practice. Now, something that I said yesterday, I'm going to repeat again today. It's possible that you're a person who only needs to hear this in order to know what to do in your practice. And it's also possible, and I think actually more likely, that if you needed to hear this, you actually need help with implementation. And that's the good news. That's where I come into this picture, because frankly, when I graduated from my training with Moshe Feldenkrais in 1977, and he handed me my diploma, I thought, this is terrific. I'm going to go out and build a practice, because I saw all kinds of people coming to see him and all of his assistants during my training. But I forgot that the people in the training program were bringing a lot of the people that his assistants were seeing. So when I saw them with more people than they could work with, I had a kind of like a skewed image of what it would take to get my own practice off the ground. It actually turned out to be a hard slog a lot of the time. And unfortunately, things haven't changed that much, because we don't know what it takes, and training programs don't typically devote the time that's necessary to help people understand how to build their practice. So the good thing here is that you don't have to go to the same lengths that I did in order to learn the skills that it takes, because I did that, and I translated all of that into language that you can understand and practical action steps that you can take that make building your practice easier, consistently reliable, and feel really like you, which, let's face it, if it doesn't feel like you, you're not going to do it. My goal is to help you fill your practice as quickly as you can with people who are most likely to say yes to you, and are most likely, when they do say yes, to be a great fit, and to settle into your own natural style in giving a first session that helps people understand why they want to work with you, and that helps make it easy for them to say yes. So if you're a practitioner who needs clients, my guess is you need help with attraction and enrollment skills. And my best suggestion is check out the Heart to Heart program at AllisonRapp.com/H2H, because this is the fastest and easiest way to get the skills that you need. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about money. Everybody's favorite topic. I know you're not in this for the money, and I know that you don't like to talk about it. But let's face it, it's the elephant in the room. And it's probably one of the biggest reasons that you're thinking that you can't possibly afford to get the help you need. So because we need to become the practitioners who have the practice we want, we're going to tackle it. And that'll be the next video. Thanks so much for coming. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.